Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekin for a free $200 credit.
Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by SourceBits. Visit sourcebits.com to begin your mobile app development journey. And by SnapTerms, online legal protection made simple. Visit snapterms.com and enter the code TWiST to receive a free NDA with every order.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. Today on the program, Jason Goldberg is with me of FAB.com, the most successful e-commerce startup of the last couple of years and one of the highest growth companies, but it also has another distinction, which is it's my biggest regret as an angel investor. Today on the show, we're not only going to learn about FAB's tremendous growth to $500,000 a day in sales, it's about $200 million a year if my math is correct, but also how I as an angel investor missed this tremendous opportunity and lost at least $2 million and counting. Stick with us. I'm going to eat humble pie on today's This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody. I want to just take a moment out of this amazing program that you're listening to thank our friends at SnapTerms. They make great terms of services for web-based services, for mobile, for apps, for all these great things that we're all building here as entrepreneurs. And if you want to get your own terms of service, you have a couple choices. One is you could hire a lawyer and spend thousands of dollars, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 doing it, or you can go to snapterms.com and get started for only $149. And we use it here at This Weekend. You can go to thisweekend.com/legal and you'll see our funny, easy to read, understandable terms of service that we didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on an attorney for. No, we simply went to snapterms.com, and we filled out a couple of forms and got a beautiful terms of service for a very reasonable price, $149 even. So if you sign up today at snapterms.com and you use the coupon code TWIST, TWIST, you're going to get a free NDA with that, with every order. So you have a nice legal document, a non-disclosure agreement that you can send to partners or potential partners, employees, whoever your investors you're dealing with, that you need to make sure certain things are confidential business arrangements, etc. And they do customized packages, right? Listen, so it's not just $149. They have mobile and app and coupon and custom ones. And so you can spend anywhere from $149 to $500 on these things. And you can see all the different options you have, whether you're doing a coupon or a deal site, which, hey, listen, that gets a little more complicated. Mobile app, SaaS. And hey, the turnaround time is just, a week or two. And you get a couple of revisions every month or couple of months. And it works really well. And look at it, it's like so great that they just check off this box. If you have forums, if you're doing social media or e-commerce, check off these boxes. Do you need trademark protection? Do you need to make it funny at no additional cost? All these different specific features that you need. You can just pick and choose which plan is right for you. This is a great way to get yourself a terms of service. And you know what? I've been reading a lot about people getting sued for not having a terms of service. You need to have a terms of service or else you can get sued. And there's, one thing I've always said is, why isn't there a simple, affordable, and fast way to do this? And hey, guess what? SnapTerms created that product. It's one of the great things about entrepreneurship. There's entrepreneurs out there watching the problems in the marketplace, and this certainly is one of the big ones. You need to have a proper terms of service, and you need to have a great privacy policy, or else you could get litigation started against you by these ambulance chasing attorneys, or you could have the state's attorney general, which I saw was suing an airline recently because they forgot to put up a terms of service. You need to have a terms of service and a privacy policy. And now you can for a very affordable price. Snapterms.com. Thank you, SnapTerms, for supporting independent media. And everybody go ahead and say thank you at SnapTerms on their Twitter account. Back to our program. Hey, everybody. It's Jason Calacanis here. As you know, the show, This Week in Startups, what's it about? Startup companies. One of the best startup companies of the last couple of years is FAB.com, and I'm lucky enough to have gotten a little bit of time with Jason Goldberg, the founder of FAB. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jason. Great to be with you.
So you're a serial entrepreneur. We meet a couple years ago. We have to get this out of the way at the top of the show. And you pitched me on this incredible idea of a social network for gay guys. And I don't know, it was, I guess, also straight people too, I guess. But
it was mostly gay community.
Mostly gay community.
Gay people and their friends, we called it.
Right, the friends of the gays, like that, which I count myself amongst. And so
The Fogs.
is that what I am? Friend of the gays? Fogs, yeah. So I go into this site and I'm like, this is the most beautiful site I've ever seen. Like, absolutely tremendous design. And I fell in love with the concept. And I look at the community and I'm like, this is going to be a huge win. Like, Plan It Out had so much potential. This is actually going to, actually get there. And so I agree to invest. I'm totally stoked on it. And then you pivot to e-commerce. And I don't know anything about e-commerce, so I pass on investing. A move that I don't know the exact math, and I'm not at liberty to say, but most angel rounds occurred about 10 million, and I've heard that the company is now worth $500 million. Suffice it to say, I've lost millions of dollars on this angel investment. How big of an idiot am I?
Well,
what did I get wrong?
You should have invested. I mean, that was the first thing. But it's very hard to pick investments. Yeah. I get asked to be an angel investor all the time, and my own personal scrub is really tough because I'm so busy running a company that I say unless I've used the product, I'm not going to invest in it.
Right.
And since you probably hadn't used Fabulous much before, I can understand you're not investing in it.
And the pivot. Why pivot? Because it seemed like that business, at least from my perspective, was a brilliant business, and you made this brave pivot into commerce. Just to put it in context, at a time when Facebook was surging and people were questioning Groupon. I mean, that takes balls.
It really came down to my co-founder Bradford Schellhammer and I. We're old friends, been friends like 14 years now, and we had started Fabulous. It was social network targeted the gay community, and it's basically I saw a gap in the market that I saw there really was no kind of social network meets kind of review guide for the gay community. So kind of a gay guide to kind of where to go, what to do, and saw that there was great potential in this market in terms of discretionary spend.
Right.
But we never really understood what the product was going to be. And I took the approach of I'm a serial entrepreneur, I'm a product guy, I can build a beautiful user experience. I'll build a beautiful user experience for this market. And the challenge we got to is everyone who looked at the old Fabulous said it was, undoubtedly great technology, great functionality, and a gorgeous user experience. And we were like, we've got a great product that we couldn't get anybody to use.
So people weren't using it.
Yeah,
that was the problem.
We got up to 150,000 users. We had about 30,000 loyal users every single week. And for some people, that's a measure of success. But as someone who's been around startups for a long time, who counsels and advises a lot of startups, I always tell entrepreneurs that if you can't figure out something in a year, pivot and work on something else. There's lots of interesting problems out there worth solving, and and it's kind of comes from my my own experience. That first of all, it's like you can't pivot your way to a business model. You can iterate on product features, but I think too many companies they keep pivoting keep iterating, and they say that if we only add this feature, we'll kind of crack that bit of traction, right, and kind of start to take off. And I think it's very hard to do that for too long. And
why is it hard? Because it's just exhausting, or
I think you're constantly adding something onto a foundation, and what you often have to do is just kind of revisit the entire thing, right? And so
fresh eyes,
exactly, right? And just say, maybe we should be working on a different problem, right? And maybe we built a beautiful product, but maybe it's just not solving the customer need. Yeah. And so we did the Old Fabulous for a year, and Bradford and I went out for dinner. It was January of 2011.
I remember.
And about the third bottle of wine, I said, it was clear this wasn't working, right? And we were just going through all right, where do we go? It's been a year. What do we do? And I said, Bradford, look, we've got $2 million in the bank. I've invested $500,000 of my own money in this company. The last thing I want to do is to spend another minute or another dollar on something we don't believe in.
Right.
Right. And so we can do anything. Let's figure out what we should be doing.
And most young entrepreneurs don't believe they can do that. I think it takes a seasoned entrepreneur to make that bold pivot decisively. A lot of young entrepreneurs are afraid of being wrong, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I've made my share of mistakes, and as an entrepreneur, I started a company called Jobster, and we made every mistake in the book. But I also learned a ton from that. And you kind of say, a smart entrepreneur, and hopefully someday people will say that I'm a smart entrepreneur, but a smart entrepreneur doesn't.
They're saying it now, Jason.
Doesn't make the same mistake twice, right? And so, you kind of build this library of learning through being an entrepreneur. And when I started my second company, Social Median, I kind of started with the notion that I'm going to try to solve a problem, which in this case was social news. And before the Facebook news feed, what we tried to do with Social Median was to help people discover news through their social networks. Right. And
great idea. Brilliant.
Which it worked. And it worked.
Flipboard,
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, this is in 2008. And
way ahead of its time.
And what we did was, what I said though to myself and to my team was, look, I have no idea if this is going to work. And I told people who are investing in the company, I said, the most amount of money I want from you is $50,000 because I didn't want to take a lot of money from anyone.
Right.
And I promise you that if it's not working in a year, I'm going to shut it down. Right.
So you're just going to go out on a little expedition.
Exactly.
See if there's anything over the hill.
Yep. And
you defined it.
Yeah, and in social media, and what happened is we hit it. I mean, so it took off really quick. We sold the company in 11 months. And so going into Fabulous, I kind of had that in the back of my head, where it was like, all right, I've been through an experience before where we were fortunate enough just to hit it really fast, but also know that you have to have the courage to kind of say this isn't working. And I find too many entrepreneurs, they just kind of keep beating their head against the wall, just trying to kind of make it work. Whereas in some cases, you have to rethink the premise in the first place.
And you hear over and over again, persistence, keep trying, but there is something to, hey, there's no need to, bang your head that 7th, 8th, 9th time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a good entrepreneur has this kind of never give up, never give in philosophy, right, mentality. But at the same time, you also have to have a dose of realism blended with that and saying, all right, well, maybe you don't give up on your dream of being an entrepreneur, but you give up on this faulty idea of what your product was. All right. And so when Bradford and I had this kind of fateful dinner, I drew on a napkin that night and I said, look, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick one thing, and we're just going to do that one thing better than anybody else. All right. And my problem with the old Fabulous was it was kind of, we were doing a lot of things, right? We were gay Yelp, we were gay Foursquare, we were gay Groupon. It was like, and it was like
it feels like Web 1.0.
Right.
Just put internet in front of topic, new company.
And so
demographic, topic, company.
And so I said, look, we're going to find one thing that we're going to do better than anybody else in the world. And I drew on this napkin, and I basically drew a circle that had 3 slices to it. And I said, the intersection of these 3 slices is what we're going to do next. The first is, what is the one thing the two of us are the most passionate about? The second is it something we realistically could be the best in the world at? And the third is, and is it a big market that is currently unaddressed? And it took us both literally a second to say design. And the reason was for Bradford, my co-founder, Bradford's background is in physical product design. He was the top salesperson to design within Reach. He opened up concept stores for them. He did the same thing for Blue Dot. He wrote for Dwell Magazine, did stuff for the Sundance Channel. And more so, everyone I know wanted Bradford to help them design their life, right? To help them add color, add kind of what I call everyday design kind of into their lives. Whether it's what to wear, what to buy for their home. And I looked across the table and I said, Bradford, my thing is user experience design. Your thing is physical product design. Why don't we take this together and build the most beautiful website in the world, selling the most beautiful everyday design objects? And no one else was doing it. I mean, what we looked at is that before Fab, there was no one place that you could turn to, to find tens of thousands of the world's most exciting everyday design objects at affordable prices.
Certainly not to buy them. I mean, you had like a Cool Hunting here or there, or like derivative sites like that, and they were good at finding some stuff, but you couldn't buy it.
Well, that was the thing. We said, look,
they weren't closing the loop.
Well, there was a couple things. One of the things we looked at, say, like, what if you took like a Cool Hunting and apartment therapy, and enable people actually to click the buy button, right? And then the other thing was that we also wanted to demystify design. That for a lot of people, I think this is a hallmark of Bradford. It has nothing to do with me. It was Bradford is like. What Bradford was known for, amongst our friends, among people who kind of admired him, was it wasn't just like the really expensive design objects. Like Bradford was good at finding kind of the beauty and kind of the simple everyday design stuff, and then blending the high and the low and the middle in between. And I think, while I'm a big fan of, say, a Cool Hunting or Wallpaper or Apartment Therapy or Dwell, most of the stuff in there is more aspirational. Yeah,
right? $18,000 couches, $7,000 blazers.
And what we wanted to do was to bring design to the masses, right? Should we cut on that?
We'll just pause on that. That's okay. No, please, no saws. Okay. You're still recording, right?
Yeah, I'm still recording.
Okay, and let's talk about design for a second.
Yeah.
Design has gotten more important in the world. In fact, the first thing I give as advice to startups is get your design right, because if design is not extraordinary, like 9 or 10 level, you're just not going to get even a meeting with an angel investor, or a venture capitalist. And that was completely different 5 years ago. And certainly 10 years ago, when people said, what's your business model? What's your plan? What's your Excel spreadsheet? 5 years ago, what's your disruptive technique and sort of marketplace stuff, cleverness. But now it's design, design, design. What changed in the world in the last decade or two that everything is design-led?
I think it's, look, I'm a user experience guy. Like I create designs every single day, and like my whole life is around kind of conceptualizing what a user experience might be. And I think what's happened as kind of, the internet has become not just mass market, but ubiquitous. And people are carrying around, computers in their pockets in the forms of, iPhones, and have tablets, iPads, and you have. It's not just design. It's like it's things that are just that are easy to use.
Functionality.
Functionality. Yeah, it's like beautiful functionality wins, right? And I think you've seen is kind of a simplification of design. And I think obviously Apple has kind of been at the forefront of this, but it's kind of saying when I look at something, I say does the button need to be there, right? Do the words need to be there? And how do you the best design just helps people get shit done, right? And so I would say like the best design gets out of the way. It helps people get done what they want to get done. And I think, the consumers are so educated now on how to use so many different, kind of whether it's, websites, apps, devices, that something has to just really work from the minute they try it in order for them to give it their attention.
Their expectation has gone 5-fold, 10-fold in the last 2 decades.
And I think what you see is, technology is... Frankly, there's not, in the consumer internet space, there's not a lot of companies where technology is the differentiator. In a lot of cases, it's the experience that's the differentiator.
Yeah, the brand, the whole experience.
Yeah. And so it's part of it is figuring out that experience, getting there first, and then kind of continuing to stay ahead of everybody else on it. Right. And I think there's just this level of expectation now amongst consumers. Look, consumers have kind of patience for maybe 7, 8 at most kind of apps or services that they'll use daily. And if you want to be one of those 7 or 8 services, you've got to get the experience down right.
And how do you become an expert on design in your mind? So many people out there listening to the show are startups, and they're so busy with technology and building it and writing code and everything. They don't really think about it. Are there some hacks for I like to go to behance.net and I just look at what's the best and most appreciated, and I'll do that every weekend just to try to see what's the latest in design. How do you find inspiration in design, aside from looking at your own site, FAB.com?
Yeah, I guess I find it from a couple places. One is, actually I'll say 3 things. One is the apps that I love to use the most. I kind of say there's a reason why I love to use them. It's not just their
Which ones?
utility. It's also, apps I think do a really good job at design. So so simple things like Kayak is really good with the experience of a very complicated problem is how do you filter and sort. Facebook continues to get better and better in terms of their design elements, and everything's very carefully tested and kind of it's done in a way where Facebook's one of the few sites that can get away just using icons without words, and people are they learn how to use it, and it's because Facebook design gets out of the way, and it's the utility that people are getting. They're kind of focusing on. I think Twitter's gotten better and better at it. I think especially, I think as the form factor becomes smaller, so mobile apps, you're forced to have a better design if you want people to use it. And so one is just, apps that I like to, that I use, and I kind of say, all right, what is it about the functionality and I always have something positive or negative to say and kind of critique. The other thing is just it really with FAB, the sense of clarity we had with the design of our site was, look, we're selling the most beautiful products in the world, and our website has to be on par with them. So I said, if we're going to have a beautiful site selling beautiful products, our own standard in terms of our design has to be as good as the products we're selling. Right. If you take these great products and put them on a crappy website, it's going to look like crap, right? And so we had to kind of be as good as, right, and take as much care into the design that the people who make the products do into theirs. And what I look at is our website's not about us; it's about the products. Right. And so our job is just to get out of the way and to showcase the products.
They do speak for themselves. And so let's talk about how you select them. What's a FAB product that's worthy, and what's not? How do you source this stuff?
Yeah. So
that is the magic of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say there's a few secret, kind of special sauce ingredients that we have at FAB, and it starts off with the sourcing. It starts off with, the products we select. We've worked with over 8,000 different designers who've sold their products on FAB. We've worked with
directly with the designers.
Correct. We work directly with designers.
Is that a key to the success?
Yeah, so we worked with over 8,000 designers, and 90% of the product we've sold on FAB you can't find on any major internet sites, right? And so products you can't buy on Amazon is a key differentiator for us. Is we help uncover a lot of designers, emerging designers, young designers who before FAB just didn't have a platform to sell their stuff. Right. And what we've done is we've mixed the high and the low. So we sell stuff as low as $5 or $10, $20, and we put it right next to a $4,000, $5,000 chair or sofa. We've sold
And when
things,
you put those $5,000 chairs and sofas up there, do you actually move a bunch of them?
we do, and and it's because that's how people live. Right, people live with a lot of little stuff, and then every now and again the big stuff. And the approach we've taken from the beginning is, so first of all, today we have a merchandising team of over 80 people. All right, so over 80 people
80
we call
people.
design scouts. So their whole job is to just find great product.
How many products are featured a day? On average.
So right now on FAB, we have about 11,000 unique products on the site, and we're adding about 1,000 new products every day and taking about 1,000 new products off every day.
Wow.
All right, and so
each one of them is responsible for 10 a day?
Yeah,
Or
it's intense, and what we have
How
is
on earth would they do? Oh, because there's multiple SKUs.
right. And so we're basically launching the equivalent of a new storefront every single day, and we actually do it twice a day now, and we do it in the U.S. and in Europe. All right, and so so we're selling now U.S., Canada, and then 26 countries in the European Union, and Europe will be about 30% of our sales this year.
How did it feel when those Samwar brothers, the lowest, most despicable people on the planet, in my estimation, stole from you to the level of pixel by pixel? I mean, they didn't just steal the concept. They really smacked you in the face and were like, we're going to just take every ounce of HTML from you. I mean, what happens that morning? Tell me the feeling when somebody says, look at this, and you click on the URL and you see the theft.
You know, it was interesting. At first I had this kind of, what the hell? Right?
Shock?
Yeah, I was kind of like, but then I kind of said, this is never going to work for them.
Right.
FAB is all about authenticity of design. Right, we don't sell knockoffs. We focus on showcasing the designer, the maker, and kind of telling their story. And people, I said, the consumer is going to see right through this, and the design community is going to see right through this. Like, if you're a designer, why in the world would you want to work with someone who has the audacity to knock off someone else's product, pixel for pixel?
Wow. If you think about it that way, they've essentially precluded themselves from having an authentic, real relationship from the best designers in the world because they know what it's like to be stolen from.
So I'll tell you this. So the first thing I did, most people, not most people, but many U.S.-based entrepreneurs, founders, when they've been, kind of copied by the Sommers, have really kind of just done nothing. They just said, all right, we'll compete the best we can. The day that they launched their site Boomerang back in February of this year, I immediately did a blog post where I basically just called them out on it. I showed pixel by pixel our screen versus theirs, how they'd copied every single element. Yeah. And then I said, putting these guys on notice that how would any designer want to work with them?
Boom.
And we emailed all of our designers, gave them, sent them a letter from me, a physical letter in the mail as well as an email, and said, I want you to be aware of this. Yeah. Obviously, it's a free market. You work with whoever you want to, but we want to earn your business. We want to show you how we're going to be true to your design. Yeah. And the Sommer brothers spent 40 million euro on Boomerang, and they shut it down. And the reason they shut it down was because they just couldn't compete in the design market because the community wouldn't support them. Yeah. And I think what they misunderstood was this is what we do every day is very different than doing a daily deal site or kind of a discounter site. We are building relationships, and we build a platform. We built a platform that didn't exist before that brings together, thousands and thousands of designers, people who make stuff, and the people who are, eager to kind of define and discover their products.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis here. I'm taking a moment to pause to tell you about a very exciting announcement. I'm so excited about this. Our friends at SourceBits, who are building the app for the launch conference, we're going to do crowdfunding live from the audience, that little test, that little insane thing that's probably going to get me arrested by the SEC. I could be taken away in handcuffs, Calacanis on the perp walk, for trying to help startups raise money. Look out. No, it's not going to happen. We're going to follow the letter of the law. If my friends at the SEC are listening, I'm a good tax-paying citizen. I support startups. Anyway, back to the point here of what I'm excited about. SourceBits, as you know, is a leader in design-led engineering. I've had these guys on the program a couple of times, and you see their work. Their work is incredible. And you know that this company works with the top companies in the world, not just Launch, but Hershey's, Coke, GE. But this is the most amazing thing. I always push my sponsors, my partners, to do something for startups, not just take. I like them to give, to support, as Naval said from AngelList on this very program. It's a race to see who can support startups the most. And SourceBits has thrown their hat into the ring with an amazing, this is just demented. It's so amazing. Look at this TechCrunch article here. Mobile app devs give out Black Friday deals. SourceBits delivers 50% of payment until you raise your next round. That's right. Sequoia backed and IDG backed this company, and now they're offering a 50-50 deal on apps. If you need to build an app, You could pay 50% now and 50% when you raise your next round of funding. What a genius idea. Why didn't I think of that? What a great way to support the startup ecosystem. And hey, you know what? It's in their best interest. If they do a great job for you and you only pay them 50 cents on the dollar, maybe they lose a little bit of money. Maybe they break even. I don't know. I don't know what the margin is exactly there. I'm going to guess they lose a little bit of money, but that's okay because they're building an ecosystem. They're building goodwill. It's a race to see who can help startups the most, and SourceBits is now in the race. Thank you at SourceBits for doing something just incredible like this. And if you take a 15-minute meeting, if you take a meeting with SourceBits, which why wouldn't you if they're offering a 50-50 deal, you'll get a 15-minute meeting with me. And I just did one of these meetings yesterday, and it's been great. Every week, once or twice a week, I meet with a company. They ask me a couple questions. I take 15 minutes. I give them some free advice, which I do anyway. If people stop me at a conference, I'm going to give free advice. So that's my way of giving back. We're all trying to help each other here. That's what the This Week in Startups ecosystem is about. And if you want to be a sponsor of this program and partner with me, guess what? Get in line. There's like a 6-month waiting list, number one. Where have you been? But number two, you got to do good. We're not just letting people, have me read the ad and not do good in the ecosystem. I had an e-cigarette company that was like, hey, Jason, e-cigarettes are the greatest thing. We'll just back up the Brinks truck. Yeah, of course I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to even do it for a product I don't use myself. I'm using SourceBits to help me build an app. Therefore, you can feel confident in using them to build your app. And there's the mock-ups. You guys saw these on an earlier episode, but if you're watching the video, you can see these beautiful mock-ups. And I told them on the phone, I love the idea that they're putting these nice little, this nice narrative down the side of why they're doing what they're doing in the development of the app. I see a lot of people send screenshots, then I see a lot of people send PowerPoints. This is the first time I've seen like a screenshot with narrative next to it that really led to some great discussions and the evolution of our product. So these guys do a great job. Email sourcebits@thisweekend.com for more info. Sourcebits@thisweekend for more info. Sourcebits@thisweekend.com for more info. Thank you to my friends at SourceBits. And if you are a fan of the show, say thank you at SourceBits on Twitter for sponsoring independent media like This Week in Startups. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned for the rest of this interview. As an entrepreneur now, the business has gone to a certain scale, a tremendous scale. Let's talk about the past scary year of your life when your employee base tripled, your sales tripled. What is that like? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you've always operated in the 50, couple of dozen employee range, right? Yeah. What's it like to break through that other side?
Yeah, in the life cycle of Fab, so we launched on June 9th of last year. All right, so the company is just about a year and a half old now, and almost a year and a half old. And when we launched on June 9th last year, we kind of knew that we were going to have some measure of success because we had 175,000 people sign up before we launched.
Wow.
Just by putting up a splash page that said Fab's launching soon and showing pictures of Bradford's house and saying, we'll be featuring products like this on the site. On the first day of sales, we sold $65,000 worth of product.
Wow.
And we did our first $1 million of sales within the first 20 days. And we knew we were onto something. And we reached 1 million members after it was basically 3.5 months, and then 1.5 million by the end of last year. And we kind of knew that we kind of started saying that we have a special opportunity here that only comes every once, now and once again. Is, we started thinking about Fab less as building a company or focusing on a transaction or focusing on sales per day, and more thinking about how we build a brand. And the entire mantra from kind of about December of last year onward has been, we are going to build a brand for the decades. And that's an opportunity that a lot of companies don't have. That we really see that, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when people think about design, people think about product discovery, we want the first thing for them to think about is Fab.
Right.
And you get there by what I call playing the long game while other people are playing short. Right? And what I mean by that is when we say playing long is we don't make a single product decision based on how much revenue or margin we're going to make. Every single product we pick to go on Fab is based on, do we think people are going to love it? And if they love it, they're going to share it. They're going to talk about it.
Deepening the relationship.
And sales will happen over time.
Yeah.
All right. And we take the same approach with, we have purposely, we put a lot of products on Fab that are intended just to be kind of almost feeder entry-level products, where today you buy a T-shirt from us. Tomorrow you buy a scarf from us. Then you buy, a pair of socks or a skateboard or whatever it might be. And then eventually when it comes time to buy the bed or to buy the sofa, Fab is there alongside you.
Got it.
And that's very different than
seducing them in. And,
exactly. And then building a relationship and showing them trust.
Yeah.
Right? We can deliver products really quickly to you. We can deliver a great experience that if you have a problem, customer service is great with you. And that's something where I think a lot of e-commerce companies, they focus more on the transaction. And we say, we care less about the transaction, more about building this lifetime relationship. And so the way our company's progressed has been in line with that as well. As we've seen our relationship with our customers and our designers grow, we've seen users really take to the company. In January of this year, we started the year with 1.5 million members. We're approaching almost 10 million members now.
Wow.
In July,
that's a lot of emails to have.
Yeah, in July we're at 5 million.
How many emails do you send a day? Millions.
Millions, but it's interesting. Email is a very small percentage of our traffic source now. We've seen this kind of mobile and social have completely kind of erased email. I mean, email is like 20% of our site visits, and mobile is 30 to 40% every day.
People just pull it out of their pocket and just flip through.
I mean, on the weekends, we're finding certain hours of the day on the weekends where 50% of our sales is coming from mobile.
That's extraordinary.
And so,
are the tablet users spending more per user?
There's a few really interesting. Mobile is just fascinating because I think it's one of the things we're one of the first physical retailers to people selling physical product to really crack the code on mobile, to the point where we're having over half of our sales coming in certain hours on mobile. What we find is a few things. One is we really see kind of the day parting of the user behavior is happening by device. It's iPhone in the morning, it's web browser during the day, and it's tablet at night. And we see
curled up on a couch.
Exactly.
Yeah, so on the way to the office,
and
commuting.
It's exactly the way I do it as well. It's funny because you wake up, you have like one eye closed, you look at your phone, you're saying, okay, I'll get that
schedule, whatever.
And then at work, it's a little different. And in the web browser experience, you're more distracted, right? So we see the conversion rate on web browser right now is right now it's holidays, we're at about 6% of every visit, but on tablet it's almost 8%. Because you open an app, you want to get something out of it, and you want to buy something, right? And
you have 100% of the screen real estate at that point.
Exactly, right? And the thing about opening an app, it's really fascinating, is like when you open an app, you don't want to close it till you get value out of it.
That's a very interesting observation. Yeah, you want to wait a second, I took the time to open this. What exactly was I trying to do? Whereas with the web browser, it's like, I've got 20 open.
Yeah, and so what we try to do with mobile especially is to create an experience where, again, we don't care so much about the transaction, so it's not, we want to create a mobile experience where you want to come to Fab and open our app several times a day, regardless if you had in your mind something you wanted to buy. You just want to come and see, what's on Fab today, or what are the latest products, or what are the most popular products today, or what are my friends buying or favoriting. And so we've created that kind of social experience as well. Of our nearly 10 million members, over 50% have come from social sharing. Wow. That's something we're really proud of. It's something that is, it's truly extraordinary in e-commerce. And I like to say, you can't make that happen if you tried.
Well, I mean, who's going to share their purchase from Amazon? I buy something on Amazon, they're like, would you like to share it? I'm like, really? My no-stick frying pan I'm going to share? No, I'm not going to share my...
But you buy this truck,
you want to
tell your friends.
Yes, exactly. You're going to tell your friends. In fact, on the wall, you have a spice rack that my wife literally put up 2 weeks ago and labeled. And she bought it on Fab.
I love it.
Let's talk about the amount of money it takes to do great design and the funding of designers, because KickStarter has now become Design Central, Product Central, although there seems to be some growing pains there. And then you have all these independent designers. I'm sure they would love to pre-sell. And do you do anything interesting with them in terms of creative financing to help them, emerging designers? And what do you think about the sort of KickStarter model? Would you ever, and have you ever, said, here's the design, the CAD drawings of these salt shakers, pre-order them?
Well, there's a few things I'll say there. One is, we discussed many times like doing a designer grant program. We're still noodling some ideas around that. The biggest thing we found for designers is there's just buying inventory helps them a lot, right? And so, for instance, during the holidays right now, over 70% of the product we're selling on Fab is in inventory at Fab, and that's orders that we placed, 3, 6, 8 months ago.
So you're floating tens of millions of dollars,
right? And so that's designers, small and large, and that helps them if they have a good holiday season, then work on the product for next year. And the place where a lot of designers need help is not kind of financing the design, but financing the manufacturing.
Right.
And one of the other things we're doing that's really unique.
What do they call that, factoring when they do that? Like some bank will call it factoring or something.
Sure.
Your receivables or whatever, But anyway, you buy a lot of stuff. You're a good customer to the designer, and you pay them on time, and that's a great thing.
And so, when we started off, we did what mostly we called sell first, where basically we tell them, look, we're going to do a sale on Fab of your product, put aside a certain amount, and we'll just buy whatever sells.
Right.
And what a lot of designers found is that they would do a sale on Fab for a week, and they'd sell more product in a week than they'd sold in many, many months. And they're like, okay, who are these guys? What's going on here?
Right.
And then we said, all right, now we want to plan 3 sales with you, or 6 sales with you, or calendar of sales with you. And then we said, you know what? And we'll pay for the inventory up front. so that you can now use that working capital to go fund your next set of projects.
And then you start thinking again. I mean, I think the name of this episode is relationship building. Talk about deepening a relationship. I mean, if you have the trust to buy from them,
Right.
and to take their fighting for scraps month-to-month existence to a year-to-year existence, that's got to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of these folks were living kind of month to month, right? And now we're giving them a year's worth of visibility. Now, the other really interesting thing we're doing, we're debuting this next year, is about 15% of our product next year is products that have been sourced by Fab. So actually, we've worked with manufacturers to actually make the product.
Wow.
And in a lot of cases, it's going back to designers we worked with this year and last year and saying, let's make a derivative of this, or let's make a special version of this.
Got it.
And so whether it's Blue Dot for Fab or Gus for Fab or
Interesting.
It's
Skip Hop, whatever.
Exactly. And
Brand
saying,
is great, saying make us an exclusive line.
yeah, and we'll fund the manufacturing of it, right?
Wow.
And so we'll
Yeah.
say, we just want to. You're the designer. We've got an idea, like we want to have salt shakers that have this, or we sell about 10% of our sales is posters and prints, right, art, and we've gone back to a lot of people who've done posters and prints with and said, let's take this and let's put this on a shower curtain, or let's put this on a bedspread, right? And
Because you have insights from the data.
absolutely. I mean, we like to say that Fab is an emotional business that is backed up by data.
Yeah.
We always say the first sale that someone does with Fab is entirely based on emotion. And then if it works, we then go through the data, and then we plan the future based on the data.
Let's talk about funding. You got Shervin, I guess, got involved, invested a lot of money from, what's his firm?
Menlo Ventures.
Menlo,
Yep.
yeah.
Andreessen Horowitz.
Yeah.
Atomico.
So you've got the A-list of A-list. When you start taking that kind of money, it puts you on a certain path. And we talked about the long game. We talked about the short game. A lot of contemporaries, Groupon, I guess, would come to mind. Going public, Living Social, just getting Amazon writing off hundreds of millions of dollars. How does the implosion of the group deal space, and I guess some people consider those flash, but they're really different. How does that implosion impact you guys, and how do you block out that and try to explain it to investors like, hey, this is something fundamentally different going on here?
To be honest, I spend very little time thinking about how to explain the business to investors.
Yeah.
I show folks our data. I show the repeat buying rate. 2/3 of our sales comes from repeat buyers. Someone who buys on Fab has a 65% chance to buy again.
Numbers don't lie.
Right, and it's just, here's the data. And if you don't like the business, it's okay too, because I'll find someone who does with the numbers that look like this.
Right.
But what I'll say is that there's just some fundamental differences between what we're doing and some of the daily deal businesses, and that kind of came before Fab, and even some of the flash sale businesses that came before Fab.
Guild Group comes to mind.
Yeah, and look, it's not to knock their businesses. It's just we're playing a different game.
Yeah.
All right. And so the one is, I think some of these businesses they try to do just revenue at the expense of understanding customer relationship, at the expense of understanding kind of how the complete kind of promise and relationship happens, kind of with the customer on both sides, both the supplier as well as the consumer. It's something that we've taken kind of near and dear from the very beginning and said, if we're going to play the long game, we really have to think through how do you nurture the supply side, make them want to work with you in an ecosystem as well as, that supports you, as well as, really treat the consumer with respect as well. The second thing is less than 1% of the sales we've done on Fab has been inventory liquidation. Right. So most of the flash sale sites is really about it's like the old kind of like outlet mall just brought online. And the problem with the outlet mall is that I think what's kind of lost in this is that the flash sales started out in like 2008, 2009, kind of when the economy crashed and people had all this excess inventory they needed to offload somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, now we can do it online. But I think what's kind of lost in this is like most brands don't want to sell at the outlet mall. That's like when they're selling their product for pennies on the dollar, right?
Right.
And
that was like they got pulled into that. It was like how to just get rid of distressed inventory.
Exactly.
When the economy comes back, there's no more distressed.
Exactly. Right. And so what happened, and I think again, Guild, I'm a big fan of Guild, but they got hit hard by this. They had to figure out how do you grow the business when the supply side is trying to keep the product away from you, because they don't want to have the product going to you. Right? That's like their last resort. And they
hadn't curated that side of the relationship. It's not like they were working directly with the designers there. In a lot of cases, I remember.
Exactly. And so for us, is like we always said we want to be primary channel. Kind of the merchant, the marketplace that the designers want to sell at, and that's whether that's Avitra, Herman Miller, Cartel at the high end, or someone in the mid range, or whether it's someone who's a mom pop designer.
And stores. Let's talk about stores.
I like stores.
I hear rumors about stores. Fab would be What a great logo, by the way, and a great domain name. How amazing would it be to walk into a Fab store and just see everything you curated? It's like the fun of like the sharper image, but actually with stuff that you would actually put in your home, not just stuff that you would use once and throw away.
Yeah, I'll tell you my philosophy here is it's very similar to our advertising strategy. So we're doing online, direct mail, and TV right now for
The
Fab.
TV commercials, by the way, are great.
Thank you. And a lot of people say, well, why is Fab doing TV commercials?
Yeah,
And
why is Fab doing TV commercials?
The reason is because, because it's not an all, or it's not like a one, but size fits all for everything. And I think it's multi-platform wins. And so you need to have this. People spend a certain amount of time watching television, and TV is an effective medium. Sending direct mail piece actually works if you measure it well, and you're very targeted with it. So
a direct mail piece,
physical direct mail catalog,
like a catalog.
Yeah, right. And we've had great success with it, as well as kind of online. Online, we do a lot on Facebook, a lot on Google, and it's that blend of it. And so I look at whether it's platform devices, whether it's iOS, Android, tablets versus phones.
All platforms. Print,
all platforms.
Stores, print.
And so for me,
direct mail, that's just another platform.
Exactly. And for me, physical retail is, right now about 4 to 5% of the industry, of the types of products we sell are bought online. Right. So there's about another 95% out there is bought in physical retail stores. And there's an opportunity here to be one of the first companies potentially who goes the opposite direction,
right,
and says we start by kind of innovating and disrupting online, and then we go and innovate and disrupt offline and create a whole new way to buy these products online. I can tell you, if we open up a Fab retail store, it's not going to be a retail store the way that people walk into retail today. We're going to think about an experience that is very more like our website,
right?
But also takes advantage of the fact that you're in a physical presence.
Yeah, I mean, Apple did that. Steve Jobs built the store in a warehouse somewhere and visited it multiple times. I'm sure you know the stories. Tesla, I don't know if you've been to a Tesla showroom, but they've also reinvented it. What do you think special about those two projects?
I think what I look at is it's rethink from the grounds up what the experience is,
right,
and with innovative products. And so, I mean, for instance, again, I say we sell so much art on Fab.
Right.
Has anyone really created a great experience to be able to kind of browse and discover art in a physical store? I think we can.
Yeah, I think the only thing I remember is those God-forsaken flat things that you bang. Right. Yeah.
I'm imagining the John King screen, where you're pulling this one down this one, put it in a frame, see how it looks.
A little Minority Report kind of situation. Wow, that would be incredibly inspiring for 2013 to see a Fab. I mean, you guys haven't done a pop-up store or anything like that yet.
We have not. We did.
It must be a lot of pressure to do a pop-up store, but you want to think it through.
We've actually, if it's going to be Fab, it's got to be done right, and have our brand on it. We're going to put a lot of time towards it. I'll tell you, it's not something we're focused on right now.
Yeah.
But it is something I'm very curious about.
And how do you look at the public markets? And this will, we'll sort of wrap up. I know you don't, right? As an entrepreneur, because
I look at it as if we continue to provide value, there'll be all sorts of interesting ways to kind of fund the company. As a serial entrepreneur who's spent the last 12 years starting companies, the biggest realization that I had over this Fab is I'd never think about starting another company anymore. So I used to always think about what company am I starting to do next, what idea am I going to do next, and it's just been this sense of relief and kind of that this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
Describe that, yeah.
I mean, this is just like this.
When did you have that moment?
I know exactly
on the treadmill?
It was October 9th of last year. I wrote it down. I was walking my dog, and I was like, wow, for the first time in 10 years, I am not thinking about new ideas and what company I start next. I'm just thinking about this is it. This is what I was meant to do.
This is the second half of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a liberating thing as a serial entrepreneur to say this is it. And so when you think about, people always say, well, have you thought about exits? Have you thought about going public? And I'm like, all I think about is how do we make Fab a successful brand? And if we do that, we'll figure out how to make money. We'll figure out how to kind of do all sorts of things.
Scott Heiferman told me a similar thing when he did meet up and he said, this is the last company of my life.
That's it.
I love doing this. Before I let you go, mistakes. mistakes. I've got all these young entrepreneurs. Yeah. Give me the things that you've done particularly bad that you now look at and say, just what an idiot I was.
I'd say...
And that you've learned from,
Yeah, I mean, look,
obviously.
In my first company, Jobster, I was a product guy and I never worked on the product. I thought that my job as the founder and CEO was to kind of be the general manager. And the thing I always look back, kick myself about is, I believe that, everyone needs to focus on the one thing they're the best at. And if the one thing that I can contribute is the user experience, then I should be doing that every day. And as a CEO, like today with 600 people in the company, I can't spend 100% of my time on it, but there's not a pixel that gets on our screen or apps that I've not personally looked at and had a part of. And that's focusing on my one thing. And that was, one of the big mistakes that I made is just to do everything instead of, honing in on what I'm good at, and just hire other people who are better at what they do than you ever could be. And when you have that kind of, it's like this sense of relief that you're comfortable and mature and able to do that, it takes you a lot further than trying to just, have control of everything.
Yeah, you had to learn to delegate, I guess, and learn to know where you add the most value. It's almost what's the best fit for the founder in his own company or our own company.
And I think one of the things that Bradford and I we're both control freaks, but we're control freaks in a way where it's like we give people lots and lots of room to go figure things out. We hire people who are smarter and better at what they do than we ever could be. But then where control comes in is making sure it's done the way we want it to be done. In the
Trust
end.
but verify.
Exactly.
And anything keep you up at night now?
It's
got to be something.
Culture is a big thing. It's how do you keep your company culture, keep the company, fun, energized, exciting. We've been through a sprint the last 18 months, and when you're playing the long game, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
And as we're now, we have 230 people in New York. We have another 180 people in Berlin. How do you make both of those offices feel like they're one office? Is a challenge.
Wow, that is a unique one. And you might get the wrong people on the bus.
Yeah, happens
all
all the
the time. You're not hiring them.
And
who do you look to? Tony Hsieh for culture?
Yeah, I think Tony Hsieh's done he's done a good job, and I think Reed Hastings over at Netflix has done some amazing things on culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you read about him that he does?
Well, there's a philosophy I repeat all the time is treat people well on the way in at the company and on the way out, and I think a lot of people get this wrong about the way out part. That sometimes it just doesn't fit.
Right.
And it's allow people to exit with dignity and treat them well and give them a soft landing. And
that's a lesson I've learned, man. I was just so angry when people left. If they gave their notice, I would say today's your last day. When I was in my 20s,
of course,
that's it, out of the building. You cannot do two, because I just didn't like having somebody around who. Doesn't that make you a little crazy?
Yeah.
Having somebody around who's there like, hey, I got a new job, and it's better than this one.
And I think as you mature as an entrepreneur, you see a lot of things. And I think the pattern recognition is something that I think young people, they dismiss it. They say, oh, I'm smart. I know I can figure this out. And I say pattern recognition really, it helps. When you say, I've seen situations like this, and it might not play exactly the way it did last time.
But it almost always does.
And then having the wherewithal to kind of, it's funny,
what's one of those situations where your pattern recognition was like ding, 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 ding?
Well, it's funny. It's like I feel inside like a young guy, but I look around at our company. I'm like one of the older people.
Right. They're like, you're 40.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of like had this thing where I kind of feel like when I see people get like so stressed out or kind of worried about what's going to happen with this decision they make, I always feel like I'm the one person in the room is thinking about it's okay. Because I kind of got a sense for what's going to happen the next 2 steps down the road.
Right.
And we'll figure that out then.
Yeah.
And then I always say in the end, it's like, people can do all they want. It doesn't matter. It's not getting on the site unless I say it's okay.
Right.
So it's like, don't get worked up over the little things. Get worked up over things you can control.
Wow. On that, we'll end. Jason Goldberg, congratulations. And what do I do now? I mean, I missed out on the angel round. Can I buy something in the secondary market? Brandis, bring me 3 bricks. I got.
How about a $1,000 FAB gift card?
It just kills me because it is a continued success. The site's wonderful. I'm a huge fan and using it regularly. Hey, listen to this episode twice. It's one of the best episodes we've ever done. See you next time.
Thank you.